this is an interesting video. Today, a friend of mine asked me. His brother was starting up a business, and he asked me a very interesting question, which was quite a very interesting thing. Uh, and He asked me if you have to start again as an entrepreneur. Now, today I take pride on the part that I have been a professional networker and I have 23,000 plus LinkedIn connections over n number of things. I have never made very big money, but I had been always managing out sufficient funds to start and fail on 19 businesses, and still I'm more grateful to God that He had given me lessons, valuable lessons, but far more than the courage to fight back, learn the lessons, implement it, and fight back again. So, and the entrepreneur journey is coming. So he asked me pretty simple, what will be the mistakes which really interested me and intrigued me to think very deeply from last 2 hours. Is pretty simple. If I have to start again the entrepreneur journey, what will I need to do? What mistakes I'm going to avoid? Pretty one thing. I will never go for a low paying customer today if I have to. What happened was pretty simple. In 2015, when I started with a consulting kind of thing, in my home town, normal consultants are charging somewhere around 500 rupees Indian currency, minimum 500 consulting. It is just like a US guy is charging a $30 minimum consulting. This is the bare minimum benchmark because the cost of living, the minimum hourly wage for consultant in US is $10. So he need to survive something. So now it was at that point of time, I didn't had big money, so I thought social media is the best thing. Now this was 2015. I had invested 8 years plus in developing a big LinkedIn community. That is, so I started far beyond 2011-12 era, 2010 era in building my online community. But in when I started, finally launched myself as a consultant in my small hometown, I had the same mistakes that I did. First, I went for a price customer, which eventually made me one of the most pricey mistakes in my life, and I regret this thing. Is very high. You know what happened? Is pretty simple. This is a standard notion that we all have. What will happen is pretty simple. We think that we are in the pressure. We need to find revenues. Now, there's bills that's coming in. How will I pay bill? It's better. Something is better than nothing. And what happened is I priced dirt less, the lowest that I can go to get the clients. The problem really is digital marketing cost, and most people who are at the low cost level, uh, they do not have big budgets. They do have big ambitions and big goals and things like that, which is often the startup trap. But how does a startup grows? They go with the big ambitions. We are going to do this, we are going to do this, we have done this and great, and all the thing. They do not have financial capabilities and the practical capabilities why another person will be interested. Simple, straightforward. Now, eventually, because I needed cash flows to go ahead, I had to invest more mind share, time share in managing the irritating, over ambitious part of the low paying customers are. And they were more demanding. And today I deal with elite level people. And, I found the low ending customer were more demanding. They were more irate, and they used to think that if they paid $30 or 500 rupees, uh, they buy me. They come with the notion, we are paying you, we are giving you a chance. Dude, by this time in 2015 when I started, I had already established my repo in the metros level, and some of the biggest companies, multinationals. I have already built the thing. It was just the starting thing, and that was the biggest mistake. In fact, after that, when I have done some high paid assignments of consulting at $100 per hour in the same market of my hometown, you will be surprised. The payments were nice, the treatments were nice, and these were all people. The reason why I was paid $100 per hour, because the company who was already sitting on the next verge of her going to $45 million revenue. It was a private limited company. they used to hire the people at that range. So no, normally they used to hire lawyers and a high paid, very taxation related attorneys for complicated thing or very high paid technical stuff. They already had an established reputation. The revenues were there, cash flows were there. They were inside the business. They know how to treat a high paid customer in a decent way. I was, their expectations were very reasonable, because they weren't expecting something very big out of me. They knew what I'm paid for, what kind of my limitations are, because they have been dealing at that level. So it was uh, it was quite a very happy in a very satisfying consulting assignments when I dealt at the higher price band. Now I'm clarifying this thing. In 2015 when I started, by that time I had developed the capabilities and the back end and the resources and the mindset and skill set and any and everything to start as a freelancer. The interesting part was, the only reference was, the I did the mistake of going with the low paid person who are paying only Indian currency 500 rupees per hour minimum consultation, and they are taking 2 hours 3 hours. They are talking as if they didn't have big budgets for even a e-commerce website, but they come with an attitude, like one of the person I consulted was a small tutorial, and they come with an attitude, they didn't had a proper website too, and there was a home tuition growing slightly larger, and they came with an attitude that I want to make a virtual office and things. And I said, dude, why don't we first start by making a website? Oh, why do you need a website? I said, yeah, but then virtual office is not my technical expertise. You're a digital marketer, you're a technician. I said, see, I'm a digital marketer, I'm a LinkedIn expert, I do Google ads, Facebook ads, but so it can be done. So I said, if you think that is so easy, why don't you do it? Oh no, I'm paid you 500 rupees. I said, yeah, but I do not have that kind of skill set. Everyone lives in a well, so I do have. No, no, you should. I paid you 500 rupees. Now understand, the 500 rupees person who is paying me 500 rupees, he doesn't even have a proper website. He thinks building a virtual classroom kind of thing is just as simple as that. But the person who was paying me $100 per hour, he knew his he already had a cash flows. His expectations was reasonable. He understand what is going to fetch at $100 per hour, because that was the price band he was all normally hiring some specialist or outside the consultants. So he knew what kind of expectations were there. Their expectations were reasonable. The company was flowing with cash flows. They already have a big client list, their emails list, and everything was there on time. They knew the rates in and out, the businesses in and out. So these are the problems. After all, going with all those treatments, I have usually avoided a lot of startup ventures. And the young entrepreneurs who come to me, I am going with a startup venture, and I usually avoided it. Especially in my hometown, basically the college, the fresh college pass out, you know so the point, gentlemen, is avoid low price customer. If you are paying only 500 rupees an hour, the cost of living doesn't accommodate. you know uh, you can't even come for good cost of a bare minimum basic level of comfortable life of a simple person. Now if you are a responsible sincere professional like me, who put his heart and soul on his work and takes pride on work is worship attitude, you know it becomes very problematic thing to handle this kind of over expectations from an irate customer who can't even make a proper website, and he wants a virtual classroom done. So he doesn't have the big budgets, but he has the big attitude and big ambition and big dream, and he want me to be working for that. Dude, I haven't agreed for it. Just opposite is the case when you are well paid. When you now, I'm assuming that you are already had been in have developed the capability and back end skills. If you are going with the persons who are normally at that point, you are competing there for a value for money customer. A value for money customer who's already on those price brands. He already have a reasonable expectation. I take a different metaphor. I say, go for value for money customer. If you are going with, do not go over expect. Know what is your managerial backend capability. If your managerial backend capability is of only $50 per hour, go for those kind of customers who target specifically, who can go for $50 per hour, make a value for money deal, do not compromise on pricing, but added some good, some, if you are starting up, good for add some extra value added services which the other person will be interested to buy at the same price, so it becomes a value for money package deal. The biggest mistake is what I say is to go for low price customer. They are the biggest thing, worstest thing. The second thing I'm not going to do if I'm starting up again is pretty simple. I do not trust anyone beyond a limit in my life, so I will never go in partnership or limited, public limited or big thing the way it is. So I like to be in as much dictatorship control as possible. Now, another thing that I would like to have is pretty simple. Third thing, which is there, if you are going with your partnership friends, you trust them or your wife or something, making an LLP is the best thing to do. Limited liability partnership, limited liability company, and there also had you need to have a dictating stake so that in tomorrow, if there is some worst time coming in, you still have real ownership and control. The third very important thing is start small. What happened was pretty simple. When I started, I had a lot of handicaps with me, so a lot of challenges for me. And at that time, what happens is you end up with lots of things. I had I was focused on over a lot of doing a lot of things, which ultimately resulted in zero or low productivity. And all my mind share, time share was, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that. And it was like primarily was social media. I need to be active on Facebook, I need to be active on LinkedIn, I need to be on Twitter. I have not touched my Twitter account from last 1 year, and I'm still getting a lot of business, and I'm getting more choices. I'm sitting at a choosing end that today I'm getting more offers that I choose both as a client and the assignments very carefully. So at this level, and this is by the grace that I have quit social media like Twitter platform in totality from last probably 1 year, and so at least 6 months I do remember. I don't even remember what was the login ID password. So interesting thing is quite interesting. What happened was, oh, you need to be active on Twitter. Yeah, true. But then my target market was not active on Twitter. And even if they are, it's just more of the branding game. I need to be active on Facebook. Yeah, many of my friends are active on Facebook. We are sharing so many of personal details. But then when it comes to talking business, asking money out of it, but ooh, big no. Friends help a few only in real life and business. There are only few friends, and more you focus on quality and value for money type of frugal type of friends, the more happier our life will be. Another thing, it is quite interesting is I'm systematically applying 80-20 principle, which I didn't apply then, and now I'm still getting focused on doing one small things effectively rather than making too many things. Of course, there is a vision, there is everything which is there, but nowadays I enjoy doing small things and making things successful, like making this kind of videos. And I'm trying to make as simple things as possible. And the interesting part I found was the real rich people, the one who is ready to shell out money like anything, the one who already have budgets and resources, they enjoy the simplicity and they're paying me more because they like this kind of simple video. They want to talk simple things with you. Dude, my target market are those people who already are normally going to 5 stars or have the big budgets too. So if I try to fake on anything, in 1 second they understand that you are trying to fake thing. Genuineness sells. If you are smart enough, it attracts. It have a very strong attraction. I did, of course, some flamboyant foolish things in my startup, and which eventually goofed up a lot of things. But then and the fourth lesson I learned is the gradual shift. I really understand, which I'm now implementing. Every business, irrespective of ups and downs, whatever it is, business, the business have cyclic variations. In every business, you will have a few good clients, very good clients. You love to deal with them. I'm blessed with one or two of them. Uh, Mass majority of okay good clients. Not I'm not talking okay. I'm talking about good clients, the average out guys, and few irritating clients. And that is, and every business will have cyclic variations. So there will be some good season time, like you know, season time, like in restaurant business, the weekends are one of the most busiest in the real season time. Whereas uh, off season time and things like that. So accordingly, you need to plan things systematically. If you have been riding a good time, just remember the first thing is to do savings, because there will be a bad time coming. If it's a good day, well, remember that then next day, then you are going to very soon going to have a night. So savings is a very important part of life. These are few lessons which I'm going to implement, which I'm now systematically implementing. 80-20 principle, the fifth very important thing. What happened was pretty simple. uh 10 years back, in somewhere around 2010-11, I started building my online community, which was started with Facebook thing, and then gradually started with LinkedIn. And mass majority of my success is because LinkedIn at that time was free. And at that time, if you have joined a group, let's say digital marketers in US, you can basically send up to 200. And I found that some other guy in California is in the same group. I can simply shoot, okay, we both are in the common group, and I like your XYZ, and would you accept my invitation? And this was the core strategy because of which I implemented and maintained consistency, which eventually made me a very small person to big, over 15,000 persons uh, personal level connection. But I implemented it for years. Uh, Now, there was now it's not possible because LinkedIn have restricted to send only 20 group invitations if you are connected to any kind of group. So now LinkedIn have, which is the right thing to stop the mass spamming thing. But today, my business doesn't come from most of any of these, because at that time it was only the idea, which is like, when you are starting up in social media, I have a Facebook page, it's like, other person have so many likes, hundreds of likes, thousands of like, millions of like. So I should have something like that. When I started, it was like, as a professional network, I have so many connections. Today it is not about this, it's all about quality. How many of those connections are giving me good business? It's pretty simple. LinkedIn is a business site. My objective for networking was not to have so many connections. I'm not contesting for a democratic politician to get vote. My objective was that today is to sheerly what kind of business this person is, what kind of revenues is, how much business I'm interested in, whether I want to develop personal relations with them or not. Mass majority of people who really had been approaching me in this entire 23,000 LinkedIn community, 90% of them have approached me hard selling their own product. 99%, 95% of them, or trying asking me for a job. 95%. And most of them, in fact 90% of them, have come on a wrong note, which had been more irate experience. So after at the level that I'm sitting with 23,000 plus connection, I'm from last 6 months I've taken a decision to let go out over 10,000 of five, to simply unfollow 5,000 of, and disconnect and 5,000 plus connections, because they are more of the irate people who are just trying to sell me something without knowing whether I'm interested or not. This is how I'm telling you. There was a lawyer I just got connected, and she is a lawyer in the US. She gave me in the US. I'm sitting in India, and the laws of US and India are two very different person. She gave me a bulk message. I'm offering lawyer services. First message, as soon as I connected, first message, I'm offering law services, this and this, and I'm expert of this and that. And dude, would you be interested? Out of just curiosity, I simply replied back in the same LinkedIn messenger, I'm sitting in India, and the laws of India demands you to have a, a license as an attorney from Indian legal system. So how comfortable are you with Indian legal system, IPPCC, and this law? And she never reverted back. After 2 3 days, I just put in as a smile question mark, two question mark symbol in the same LinkedIn messenger. She never reverted back. She didn't even had the gutsy and the guts to face by saying sorry, or something like that. I had done such foolishness too in the back of time, but I had the courtesy to say I'm sorry. It wasn't just the normal pressure thing, something like that. Sorry, or simple word of sorry would have been worthy enough for it. Now, because I had been irritated by these kind of people who basically want to go push, 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 thinking that LinkedIn is just like a telecalling, cold calling thing. It is the totally, and that becomes more irate experience. I had decided to let go out and follow over 5,000 plus connections. So, understand, if I have to start it again, instead of wasting the 10 years that I have wasted on developing this 20,000 community, I would have invested very systematically on developing, on learning what kind of buyers I am interested in, what kind of quality person I am interested in. Instead of going with this penny pinchers, I would like to have value for money and seasoned quality people, and develop genuine relationship, try to test them, understand them, what kind of expectations they have, and develop and compete to the right way, in their eyes, as a responsible, sincere professional, and be in the value for money, guys, rather, and focus on quality over quantity. We are not in the era of contesting democratic elections where we need to get, basically fool everyone and get 1000 plus connection. This is more about quality business. This is more about value for money business. It is not any and every idiot is going to come and waste time on you and buy your product. Don't try this. This is the biggest mistake that I ever did, thinking about the quantity game rather than the quality game. So today I'm shifted myself from total a quantity game to a quality game player, a value for money player, going with a distinct clear mindset that it's better to go with competing with myself and compete in that value for money spectrum, and avoid the entire era of penny pincher and the irritating kind of this aggressive people. So these are the mistakes that I had done, which have costed me very heavily, and now I'm correcting it. So if I have to start again my entrepreneur journey, these are the few mistakes that I'm not going to uh, do again. So if you are listening this video by this far, it's 22 minutes plus, and if you had been managing to listen to this, I believe you are really serious about doing the business. And thank you very much for giving me so much importance to invest 22 minutes of your valuable time onto this. Please do not go for quantity. Please do not go for penny pinchers. Go for value for money. Be mentally prepared to compete and develop that competitive abilities rather than resorting to shortcuts, and develop a genuine, mutually beneficial through the right way, right kind of clients, and develop a genuine relationship with them, a business relationship, but genuine one. Thank you.